Welcome to the Q.A.C. Team Podcast, your quality assurance consulting team. Quality is our highest priority for your business with one goal, one direction, success. And now here's your host, Charles Luttrell. Good afternoon, listeners. My guest today is Rachel. Rachel, good afternoon.
Hi,
How are
I'm
you?
Rachel. I'm good. And I
Good,
am
good.
Rachel with Rachel Carey Photography.
That's awesome. So you stole my first question already. I was going to say, tell us who you are and what you do, Rachel.
Yep. So I am a photographer. I am based out of Harford County, but as a photographer, you travel all over. So I go as far as I've been at weddings in Florida. I shoot in Ocean City, Maryland. I go up to Pennsylvania. So we kind of travel all over for that.
Oh, that's great. So you
Yeah.
do travel. Oh,
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Awesome. So tell us, why did you decide to be a business owner?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I had no interest in that. I actually kind of had my life mapped out since before I graduated high school,
Mm-hmm.
I got a job with St. Joe's Medical Center and started, I had to wait until I got my diploma and then I was able to start working there. So I worked there the second I received that.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there for about 10 and a half years. And my daughter was turning 1. And I just, with a mix of things, but I kind of was just like, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm like, I don't even know my daughter. She's turning 1. I have yet to even barely take care of her. Thanks to my husband. He was a huge support, but I didn't like that. I wanted to take care of her. So I left. I left
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere. I was 28, I want to say at the time. Yes. I'd been at the hospital for 10 and a half years and I was in management. I'd worked my way up, the youngest manager probably in the hospital at the time. That was where I was retiring.
Mm-hmm.
But I spontaneously left. And so when that happened, of course, everyone was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like, she's having a mental breakdown. Maybe I was, who knows? But I don't think I was. I just knew that I, wanted to be with my kid.
Right.
And I
That's the
wasn't.
important thing. That's so important when you have kids. You really want to spend time with them and watch them grow.
You do. And what
Yeah.
happened also was I had picked my daughter Olivia up from daycare. And one of the moms said, oh, you're Olivia's mom. Nice to meet you. And it kind of clicked. I'm like, oh my God, my kid is about to be 1. This
Yeah.
parent hasn't even met me because my husband has taken her and picked her up every single day. So I think it was kind of a mix of those things. And I was like, no, I'm out. I'm out of
Yeah.
there. So I just dipped out. I had zero plans. I kind of just asked my husband, who Chuck, which is funny, always a small world.
Very small
You
world,
guys
right?
worked together years ago. So I said to my husband, I said, are you going to support me? I'm leaving. Like, basically just like that. I can picture it now. And, I'm a very spontaneous person. And my husband, Alfonso, but we like to call him Fonz or Fonzie, is not. He is type A, which I need in my life. Thank you, Fonz, for being that. And I'm like, type X, Y, and Z type of gal. So,
Uh-huh.
he was very shocked, of course. But he said, like, okay, I'll support you. So he gave me the okay, and I left. I left the hospital with plans, but
No
just leaving.
plans.
Yep. So a couple weeks into staying home with Olivia, I was like, alrighty, well, what am I gonna do now? Can't just be a stay-at-home kid, but that's not me.
Right.
So I just really struggled with trying to figure out what the heck am I going to do. And I went to Panera one day with my best friend, and we were just kind of chit chatting. And I was like, I got to figure out something. Like, I got to make some money. I got to work. I have to do something. So,
Right. Right.
I just needed it. I needed it for myself. So she was like, what about photography? Like, you always love taking pictures. And I was like, oh, I'm like, you're right. I do.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I'm so artsy. That's kind of my thing. I love interior decorating. I love style. Like, I love
Uh-huh.
clothes, fashion, all the things. So she said, and I said, as the type X, Y, and Z gal that I am, I said, that's it. I'm doing it. So right then and there, within those seconds, honestly, I go onto Facebook and I'm like, okay, what's my business going to be called? And we're like, okay, Rachel Care Photography. That's easy enough. So I create a business page, and like the rest was history.
Right. And that was the next question we were going to transition to.
Yeah.
After we talked about, why did you decide to be a business owner, which is a really great story. Yeah, it kind of
Pretty wild.
goes off of, the way that's how I got started back in the day with my endeavors outside of, the roles that I had actually did,
Right.
is so why did you choose your industry, right? So why did you
hmm
choose photography? So what drove you to say, I think that's where I want to go, you know?
Yeah. It's funny also because I guess I didn't even really realize like how much I love photography growing up. It was just kind of a part of me. Like I always had a camera, of course, not a professional camera, but I did. I always had a camera with me wherever we went. I was always making sure I documented everything. Even like, I mean, silly to say, but like, even like for, my young, like early 20s, like for going out and at a party, like, I always had a camera. I always documented everything. And so I guess that's really was something that I loved and just didn't realize it because I was so involved with when you grow up, you kind of have a few options, you think.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what you need to do. You need to be in business. You need to be a teacher. You need to be a doctor. You need to be a nurse. You kind of just really only have a few options that that you know of at least. Now,
Right.
of course, nowadays I feel like it's a little bit more open, but a business owner wasn't really something that anyone really spoke about or the trades and things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of like I don't want to say, but almost a little bit of like a black sheep type of thing,
Right.
which is actually kind of me. Was never good at school at all. Hated school for a multitude of things, but really school was not for me. And so I
Mm-hmm.
struggled with that. I struggled with, getting through my college courses. Um, but as society tells you, like, that's what you need to do to be successful.
Right.
So I tried, I got very lucky because I am a very hard worker, that I was able to be so successful without a degree because I never finished at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So, but all that went to the side here and we started this new endeavor. I just didn't think it was an option to do anything besides
Mm-hmm.
one of these things that society tells you need to do. So,
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? How as we're going from kids to young adults into our early adult years, we have this vision like we're supposed to do this, but then here we are because we're
yep.
like the same. Here we are doing something completely different than what we ever thought we would do growing up. You
You're
know?
right. You're right. And what's funny is I am so glad that everything worked out the way it did because it opened my eyes. And again, I think now in 2023, society is seeing, there's a multitude of things. You can be anything you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
but back in the day, and it's, not to anybody's fault, you only had a few options in a sense. So,
Right.
but now it's nice. Everyone's kind of you can do your own thing and you can be successful at whatever you want to be. And I really drive that, and I talk to people about that because if I was still at the hospital, I cannot imagine. There's no way I would be as happy as I am now. My life has turned out so wonderful, and of course reasons. But I do think a
Mm-hmm.
big part of it is because I was able to become a business owner and flexibility that you get, the people you meet, so many like-minded people.
Right.
in,
I
you
get that
know,
a lot that
right?
people I get that a lot that people will question me. It's like, so wait a minute. So you did this for 16 years and then you walked
Yes.
away. And I'm like, absolutely. Because
Correct.
if I would have stayed there, I probably would not be alive today
Yeah,
with the stress I was under, you know?
you got that right. And sometimes, and I think a lot of people, honestly, you're almost in this like fog and you
Hmm.
don't see that like there's so much more to life. There's so much more to, you don't, I mean, even in a setting, and a hospital is a stressful place. Any career, anything you do is stressful, period. It is.
Yeah.
But there's, almost a lot of negativity. I didn't even realize how much negativity there was every day. And I love the people I loved. I mean, it
Hmm.
was certainly, but it is negative. There's nothing but problems, and I'm sure that's in all sorts of places. And, when you work with and are around other business owners and like minded people, the conversation is different. It just
Right.
is. We, even though, of course, we are all stressed, we're bringing in our income on our own.
Right.
We're working and not getting paychecks sometimes,
Absolutely.
those
Yeah.
sort of things.
Absolutely.
That's a very stressful environment. But
Yep.
because you have different support system, as entrepreneurs, you the conversation is different, like I said. So
Right.
you uplift each
Yep.
other, you help push each other, you help promote each other, you see where you can lend a helping hand and those sort of things. So I think being around people like that has just increased like my happiness and the way I think and the positivity and your self-esteem even.
Right. And plus with
So
the events that you
great.
do, right? Because you're around, so you do weddings and parties,
I
right?
do.
So
I
you get to
do.
see all the, you get to see the happy moments,
Yeah, you're right.
and right. And what are some of the, what's your favorite event you like to do? Weddings?
It's funny you asked that because no, I hate weddings. Is that funny or what? I hate them. I love them so much. I love them. I love my brides. I actually only do weddings for people I know,
Uh huh.
people I like. So I will only take because, believe it or not, weddings are so much work because of the
Hmm.
editing that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of photography is very much an assembly line. That's what I like to call it.
Hmm.
You cannot stop. If you stop, everything's going to back up, and you're the only person running that assembly line.
Right.
So with wedding photography, I have to edit so much and so long that stops me from being able to get done all the other work I have to get done and all the other
Hmm.
photo shoots and all the other editing from the photo shoots. So it's really a lot. It's a lot, super
Hmm.
stressful. So that's the reason that I don't love weddings, but I do
Right.
love the idea of being at wedding. I have so much fun at the weddings. It's
Yeah.
after all the work after that gets tricky. I would say
Right.
my favorite to do right now is actually I love working with business owners. I love doing content shoots for businesses.
Oh, that's
Any
interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
any sort of branding,
Uh huh.
photography. Again, I think you kind of get the camaraderie. I get to really work my artistic, side of my brain a little bit more
And
there.
it's good that you mentioned that because when I hear, and it just, I'm sure I'm not alone. But
Hmm.
when I hear somebody doing photography, the
Hmm.
first thing comes to mind is weddings,
Yes,
you
I
know,
agree.
and
Hmm.
I never would have thought about content branding for businesses. That never would have crossed my mind for anybody doing photography.
Yeah, and it's super important too because I truly believe that when you showcase your work, as a business owner or a hobbyist, whatever the case may be, when you showcase it with professional photography, that elevates your business to another
Hmm.
level.
I agree.
And it's
Yeah.
almost kind of subconsciously that your viewers, your customers, your clients look at your work and they're like, oh, like they're taking that seriously. They've hired a professional photographer to have professional photos. These photos these images look amazing, showcasing whatever their work may be, if it's, a craft or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, so too. It's kind of like, a win-win there. And again, like I had mentioned, working with like-minded people is really fun.
Yeah.
So you kind of leave the photo shoot. I mean, I know I do, speaking for myself at least, I leave it feeling more inspired, because you chit chat with these business owners during the photo
Sure.
shoot.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
you do, you feel more inspired. You feel just, you've had a great day. I leave my photo shoots feeling great
Well,
rather
yeah,
than
because if you
feeling
don't,
drained.
right, because if you don't connect with a business owner or anybody that you're doing photography with, it's just not going to work, right? Because you got to have that
Correct.
connection
Yes.
where you guys are working together to understand what they need and what you need,
Yep.
so you can
Bring
help
that
them.
vision.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
it's great. And I've
yeah.
been lucky enough to meet so many great, amazing people. It's actually, again, kind of going back to what I did before. And, I hate to always bring that up, but it's the only thing I can compare to because I did that when I was 18, right
Hmm.
out of this is how I grew up.
Right.
But you go back to like you're it's nothing but positivity for the
Yeah.
most part, and just great people, and not realizing that like we're all a team, even though we don't really work together, but we do as a community.
Right.
And so that's so nice to see, because I am really here for everybody. I'm that type of
Hmm.
person, and I just love to do whatever I can. So it's nice to see people wanting to do that for me as well.
And that's good because I feel that vibe, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm with you.
Yeah.
We're kind of the same because what
It's
I
funny,
do in
even
customer
talking to you,
service.
you
Yeah,
can
right.
feel it. You can feel the energy. It's good energy, good
Right.
vibes. Mm-hmm.
Because what I do is customer service, and it just works so well because I love when people tell their story, and then people get to hear the energy and the passion that people have in their business. How they run
Yes.
things, how things are ran. And I love that I can share that, and we can
Mm-hmm.
share that with my audience and anybody that hears it. It's good stuff.
It is good. This is
Yep.
how we all can be successful.
Yeah.
There is no I in team, and whether your team is only you, like there's still no I in team, and everybody contributes to your success. So it's great.
Absolutely. Yep. I love it. So let's talk about some of the challenges that you faced with creating this business and some of the things
Mm.
that you see on the daily that when you're doing your business.
Yeah. So Um, the challenges, woo, they were rough at the beginning. Of course, I had nothing mapped out, no game plan. Me
No
again,
business plan, no business model. You
nothing.
just here you are.
Yep, I'm like, let's just go for it.
Let's do this. Right.
Lot of sleepless nights, lot. That was not that was not a fun time for myself personally. For my marriage, I'm sure it's of course it's a fog now, but it'll be 6 years. I'm sorry, it'll be 6 years
Hmm.
in October that I started. So you know, um, that was a struggle. I didn't realize, and I don't think a lot of people realize, even, other photographers, so much that goes into having a business, and even learning photography, to be honest. I did not know that there was art and science to photography, that
Hmm.
it's not just having a good camera and taking a picture. I still learn to this day. With every shoot, I learn something different, because a camera is actually really like a computer. I
Hmm.
had no idea. I'm like, oh yeah, like, I love to take pictures. Let's take pictures. I'll be a photographer. No, it doesn't
Oh,
work
it's
like that.
it's easy. Just point and shoot, and I'm good.
Right.
Yeah, we
Right.
got it.
If only that would make my life much easier, but that's not the case. So, yeah, there's so much that goes into it. And I think that in itself was a
Yeah.
full time job, just learning as much as I could with the camera. I mean, I had mistakes for every photo shoot, and you
Right.
learn with every photo shoot.
Yeah.
It's so complex. It's impossible to even describe, which was a huge shocker for me. Like I said, I didn't
Hmm.
know. I just didn't know. Um, so that was huge. That was one big thing. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my car. I'm in the car. Um,
We
that
have
was my
noises.
Yeah, that was my car beeping, telling me to watch the curb. But it's only because I am actually, Chuck. I have two children in the car right now, and I'm letting them out right now to the school to go play on the playground while we chat.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, so that works out nice,
Yeah.
which brings in another, part to being a business owner. You can do it all as a
Yeah.
business owner, which is awesome. So I can have kids with me and still be able to get all my work done.
Right.
Really fun. But I'm sorry, I got sidetracked there.
That's
So,
okay.
learning photography, real professional photography, was huge, because a lot of people will say, and nowadays with, social media and stuff, that they're a photographer, and I hope and wish everyone the best, but not everybody is a professional photographer, and there's a huge difference there. So that, and then as a business owner, learning how to market properly, learning how to get the right clients for me, the ones that I wanted to make sure my clients loved me and I love them as well.
Mm.
Um, I'm very much on, positive energy and good vibes and all these things. And I didn't want any of my clients to have anything negative, I guess,
Yeah,
which,
because that goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? If
yes,
if you're
it
meeting
does.
with someone and it doesn't gel,
Correct.
if you're not a good client consultant relationship, it's just not going
Right.
to work.
Right. And so if
And
you're
it's important.
stressed, you're going to see it in the photos. If a client is, in a bad mood, let's say, or just like not vibing with you, that comes across in the photos. Like if you're not in a good mood, your smile, that fake smile, is going to show.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, something there. But that was one of the
Yeah.
things, making sure I marketed to get the clients that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
which thankfully I have, and I love so much. I have a community at this point. And I truly, truly, truly love them, and I appreciate them so much. So that's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but as far as like the being a business owner is not for the faint of heart,
It's really
it's
not.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
never going to be a 40-hour week. There are
Yeah.
plenty of like positives to it, of course, but you definitely have to balance out and take the good with the bad,
Yeah.
because you have to work your butt off,
Yeah.
you
That is
know.
true. Yep.
Yeah, the flexibility is super nice, but man, you need to be on top of your game,
Yep.
um to keep this thing moving. So,
So let's talk real quick a little bit about, you know, I dealt with this when I left my job to do what I'm currently doing.
uh-huh.
And that little fear factor, when you step out and you're doing something on your own, that fear hits you like nothing else,
Mhm.
And I can only imagine, with you, with a kid
Yeah. There was
and
a lot going on.
marriage and right. You're like me, you have a lot going on. I have two kids and you got to be the provider for these kids. And you really got to think about your choices and how you're going to lay this out. Right.
Mhm.
So that fear when you first stepped out to do this, that fear gets you right.
It does. It does. You're very, insecure. There's something called the imposter syndrome. That's real life. I mean, that is, I don't know
You
if that ever goes away. Is that in other businesses or just mine? Because,
you are the second person who I interviewed who talked about that. And
yes,
Mel Robbins I think it was Mel Robbins talked about it on her podcast or an
she
email
did.
that
I
I
love,
got
I
from
love
her.
listening to her, by the way.
Yes, she is incredible. She's really actually helped me as well.
Oh,
And
good.
yes, and I'm telling you that it is a real thing. It really
It
is,
is. It
you
is.
know.
So
And
that's a hard one
you're
to,
still right,
I know.
right. So we're fighting our inner demons as well that are telling us we can't do this. You can't do this. You're not going to do this. We're constantly fighting that battle to say, look, you can do this. You got to keep
Mhm.
moving.
Yeah. Yes, some of my um the biggest things that I found that work for me personally, again, talking about, I go back to this, good vibes only, positive energy only. And so one thing that helped me, I think, with that is I found not following any other photographers
Mhm.
locally, like anyone around at all. I don't follow. That was one thing that was I really recommend to people because you don't want to get caught up, especially when you're trying to figure things out and the imposter syndrome's going on and all these other things. It just creates like more insecurity. I say this, it puts a little poison in your brain every time
Yeah,
you look at somebody else because you're
it
comparing whether
does.
you say that you're not,
Yep.
you are. And so you can't help it. We're only humans. So
Yeah.
I made sure pretty I would say maybe within like that first year, probably, I ended up like unfollowing people, and it was nothing against them, of course. It was for my own like sanity, my own like
Mhm.
I was dragging myself down.
Right. Right.
So I did that, and I thought that was so beneficial, and I still to this day, I do that. That was one thing that really helped me.
Right.
And
So you
you know,
started in what, 2017, 2016,
yes. Yep,
right?
2017. Uh-huh.
Right. So that leads into the next question, which is perfect. You started prior to and after. So how's the pandemic changed what you're doing in your business model? Because I know you had to have some struggles with the pandemic for your business.
It was certainly hard. The business, of course, like everybody else, we shut down, and I had nothing coming in. There was no support any which way.
Mm-hmm.
Not through I didn't support through anything. So besides my husband, of course, which
Right.
thank heavens for him. And as you know, he's a really awesome human being. Um, so he was able to help me and support us through that time. But that, of course, had you questioning everything.
Yeah.
Where do I go from here? Do I continue this? Like, oh my gosh. But again, that was everyone was going through that no matter what they were doing, I'm sure. One
Mm-hmm.
thing that really helped me, and I'm so glad, I've always had this mindset. And I think this just comes from like childhood stuff. Um, I've always never wanted to, and a business on its own is expensive. The bills don't stop. And the money you make, you usually are taking whatever is left over and reinvesting it,
Right.
whether it be I'm always taking my money and reinvesting it into my business because I have to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
So besides all the bills, I'm taking my money and I'm using it to continue to create and build my business. But one thing that I have always been super skittish on, and back to society's kind of standards thing, um, as you grow your business, people are always like, "Oh, what's next? What more can I have? What more can I do?" And a lot of people say the next thing when you're quote unquote successful or you're doing well is to get in photography standpoint would be a studio.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I could have. Yes, I've looked at, but my heart has always just said, don't do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want that extra stress because now, on top of all these other bills, a studio bill, you're locked in, for however long. And then
Right.
you have all the bills on top of that for just
And
the
you know,
studio.
and you know your business model. You know what you want.
Hmm.
And you know it wasn't a
Yes.
smart choice for you because that's not what you want to do personally.
Correct.
Yeah.
And my business model and my life model are the same, which
Mm-hmm.
is I want to be successful, but only to a point actually. Some people want success and they want to keep, and I am still going and I am still, being, I don't know, growing my business, I guess, but only to an extent. And the best way to describe that is I don't care what everybody else is doing. I personally don't want in this example, a studio, because that creates more stress for me. I have to then, possibly work harder. I have those monthly bills. And for me, my business and my you know, I guess my personal goal is to just have enough. I don't
Hmm.
need this. My enough is where I'm at right now. I'm
Hmm.
bringing in enough. I'm happy enough. I'm successful enough. I have a nice work life balance. Although, you know, if you're looking at it at a 40-hour a week standpoint, like, no, I work over 40 hours a week, but
Hmm.
it's okay for me because I've figured it out. I've figured out my balance for me and for my family,
Hmm.
and it's really working for us. And I love it. I could work more and I could make more money, because that's really everyone's drive, is to make more money. Sure, I'd love it. I love money. I'm not any different from anybody else.
From
But
anybody else,
no,
right?
yeah, I love money. I can spend it very fast. No problem there.
No problem.
But I also love just as much being with my family. And I really love being with my husband. And
Hmm.
we make it a point to, we have our date nights that I'll never replace. We do our dates with our daughter and some of our other family. And I have a stepdaughter, and we make sure we don't like to be home a lot, and we
Hmm.
do, but we love to travel. So we love to go places and explore. And so I would never, money's never gonna, be more important than that time.
Right.
So
That's such a great thing. It
yeah,
really.
so I think, of course, obviously I'm jumbling on and rambling a bit here, but it does circle back around to COVID. So I feel that that was such a blessing, and it was almost a sign of, like, you're doing the right thing, because
Hmm.
although, yes, I was stressed, and and yeah, I was not bringing in any money, at least I didn't have that huge monthly expense of the studio and all those things
Yep.
that would have really put us in the hole, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Again, making smart choices, right? Making smart
correct.
business choices to know where you're headed and what you want.
Correct. Out of
Yeah.
my business and out of life, for me personally.
Right.
And that will continue on. I don't, I do every once in a while think, would I like a studio? And then I run and I come right on back and I'm like, no, because that's not what I want for my life.
Right. You're like, nope, not going to do it.
Not right now. Yeah, that's not for me.
Right. Right.
And yes, kept my mental health, I think, at a good standpoint too.
Right.
So that, to answer that, yes,
Yeah.
that's how COVID reminded me that here's where I wanted to be. And so
Right. Great,
that's
great
what,
decisions
yeah, that's what COVID's
prior
done for
to
me.
and through COVID. Right. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. Absolutely. That's great. So,
Thank you.
how do we find you? If we want to use you, how do we connect with you?
Yeah, so a couple things going on right now. Getting a new website. I just won Baltimore's best photographer for Baltimore
Nice.
Magazine. Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank
Yay.
you. Thanks.
That's
So that was
great.
exciting. So I just want to revamp everything a little bit, add in some of these new awards that I've won. I never really put in. I've won Harford County's Most Loved Photographer since 2017, believe it or not.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so
Congratulations.
thank you. So I want to
Yeah.
add that to, like, my website. I never did that. Little things like that. But you can, and that should be up soon, of course. But you can find me on social media, Rachel Carey Photography. I have on my social media, I have, like, my inquiry, my session links, and those sort of things as well. So
Hmm.
that's almost like a mini website. You can go on there and reach out to me through that link. And that'll then, email me and we can chit chat that way. A lot of times for photo
Hmm.
shoots, you end up actually talking to me probably more than people realize, because
Yeah.
sometimes you think, like, oh, okay, so I want a photo shoot. What's the set price? And I'll see you, on that date. And it's really not. We do a
It's
lot
not
of
that simple.
planning. No, there's nothing black and white about a photo shoot. Every single photo shoot's really kind of different. I
Right.
do offer mini sessions, which is a little bit like less, you can kind of just show up and we do the photos. And those mini sessions are cool because they're in budget for a lot of families. So
Right.
a lot of families will do that for family photos or maternity photos and those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have those on my booking site right now, currently.
When you can send me that link and I'll put it in the
Sure.
show notes when we're finished with this podcast. I'll add it to
Okay.
the show so people can just click right on that.
Exactly. I absolutely will.
Awesome. That's great.
What else I wanted to tell you, Chuck, I have, for anybody, who's listening and, wants to book a session with me, I can offer them, as long as they just tell me that they got the info through you, I can offer $50 off until the end of the year for a session if they'd like.
Oh, that's great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
That's great.
Absolutely. So
Really
again,
appreciate
bringing,
that.
this is all about community. So
Yeah.
anyone that knows you and has found me through you, I'm more than happy to offer that to
That's
them.
great. Thank you for that. Really appreciate
Oh
that.
yeah, for sure. Well,
Absolutely, Rachel. Thanks for coming on the podcast interviewing. It's been great. Love your
Chuck,
story. I love listening to, you
thank
know,
you.
how you grew and where you started and where you are now. These stories always inspire me. Every time I do one of these podcasts, I get so much inspiration from them.
I love hearing them too.
Yeah,
It is
because,
pretty awesome.
right. Because the thing is, it helps me understand that we're not alone.
Yeah,
You know,
right. Exactly.
when you have a dream, you have a vision, it doesn't happen overnight and it
Mm-mm.
takes a lot of hard work.
It does. Yep.
You
And
know,
and we're all rooting for each other, that's for sure.
that is the key thing right there. Right. Root
Yep.
for each other, man. We got to help each other because nobody else is going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so tired of hearing that stuff about everybody. I'm on my own. I got to put my head down and just do it on my own. And you don't have to.
Mm-mm. Nope.
If you just ask for help, there are people like us out here who will help.
Yep. And we'd love
You
to help,
know?
more than love to help. It really is
Yeah.
community over competition for
Yep.
most people. You know,
Yeah.
it
Yep.
really is. We're here together. There is no I in team. So we definitely have a community.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm lucky to be a part of it.
Awesome. Anything else you want to add before we close out here?
No, I think we're good. I had such a great time talking with you. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I'm a
No,
rambler.
it's perfect. It's great. I think you
That
did a good job.
that ADD really whew,
It's
comes
great.
into play.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much again for coming on. I really had a blast.
Thanks,
Um,
Chuck. I appreciate it. Thank you.
absolutely. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, perfect.
Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
you too.
you.
Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Q.A.C. Team Podcast with your host, Charles Luttrell. Connect with us on the web at qacteam.com, Facebook and Instagram at qac.team. Thanks for listening.